Greetings, Iain from RTO here. Welcome to another album ranking, and as it's a Friday here on RTO, it's a live album rankings where we look at the live albums of our favourite bands. Today we are looking at Thin Lizzy. We've got a few albums, and there's some without Phil, because although they officially split up in 1983, members of the band still played after Phil's death. So we've got 9 to look at today. So we'll get a cracking. So coming in at number 9 is an album that's called Radio 1 Live in Concert. It is a live recording from Reading in 19, and it was released in 1992. So the lineup for this show was Phil Lynott on the bass and vocals, Scott Gorham on guitars and backing vocals, John Sykes on guitars and backing vocals, Brian Downey on the drums, and Darren Wharton on the keyboards. Opens up with the classic Jailbreak, always a good track to open up with. Then we get Thunder and Lightning, what a track that is. Waiting for an Alibi even. And then the Are You Ready, great track. Baby Please Don't Go, and then we get a track that very rarely hear live, A Night in the Life of a Blues Singer, one of the very early tracks there. The Holy War, The Sun Goes Down, Emerald, Cowboy, The Boys Are Back in Town, Suicide. Then you get this a Rosalie medley with Rosalie, Dancing in the Moonlight, Cowgirl Song, and then it ends up with Still in Love with You, which is an absolute belter version. It's not a bad album. It's a nice little collection of their songs. It's done outside, and it's not bad production. Reading seem to get it right with their production. Some of their stuff's really good. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 8. This is Thin Lizzy live in London. Now, when this come out, there's 2 albums done on 2 separate days. So I've sort of listened to both, and I've got, I think, the better recorded one. This was done in London on the 22nd of January 2011, and it features Ricky Warwick on lead vocals, Hymn of the Almighty, and Black Star Riders, Scott Gorham, Vivian Campbell, Marco Mendoza, Brian Downey, and Darren Wharton. Opens up with Are You Ready? Absolutely brilliant track that is. Doesn't matter who sings it, it's a great rock track. Waiting for an Alibi, Jailbreak, Do Anything You Want to, great track. Love that track. Don't Believe a Word, Dancing in the Moonlight, Massacre, great track. Angel of Death, Still in Love with You, Whiskey in the Jar, Emerald, Wild One, Ja la 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 la, Cowboy Song, Boys Are Back in Town, Rosalie, a great version of Bad Reputation, don't get many live versions of that, Black Rose, which is always awesome, and The Rocker. Now, people saying this is not nothing to do with Thin Lizzy. It is, because when you think about the people in it, you've got Brian Downey, Darren Wharton, Scott Gorham, that's the majority of them, and Ricky Warwick sings Thin Lizzy songs really good. I know, I've seen Black Star Riders, and he sings Are You Ready brilliantly. And Jailbreak, I've heard him do these songs. He is a good singer and his voice is very similar to Phil's, so I've got no problem with that. I just like it. It's great to hear these great songs again. For this album, good production and a good selection of songs, very good selection of songs. Some of them ones that we haven't heard for a long time. So I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.2. Okay, then coming in at number 7, we have Thin Lizzy live in 2012. This features Ricky Warwick against Scott Gorham. We've got Damon Johnson on guitars replacing Vivian Campbell, Brian Downey on the drums and Darren Wharton. Again, some great tracks on here. We got Are You Ready, Jailbreak, Don't Believe a Word, a cool version of Chinatown, absolutely belting version, Dancing in the Moonlight, Massacre, Waiting for an Alibi, The Angel of Death, Still in Love with You, Whiskey in a Jar, Emerald, Suicide, the Cowboy Song, Boys Are Back in Town, Rosalie and Black Rose. Again, another very good concert. Again, we got them little tracks that they're popping in that haven't been played for a long time, and I don't think when Phil was with them they didn't do Chinatown very often. So again, production's great. It's just okay. I just think it's great to hear these songs, and it's great for fans to hear these great songs. There's people out there that weren't even born when Phil passed, and they've got this chance to listen to some of these great rock tunes. Again, I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 7.4. Okay, coming in at number 6. This was called the High Voltage Festival, recorded in 2011. Again, we got Ricky Warwick, Scott Gorham, got another guitarist, Richard Fortus, and Marco Mendoza, Brian Downey, and Darren Warburton. Very similar set to the 2011 because it's on the same tour. This is a very shortened album. It's got Are You Ready, Waiting for an Alibi, Jailbreak, Don't Believe a Word, Whiskey in the Jar, Emerald, Cowboy Song, The Boys Are Back in Town, Rosalie and Black Rose. Now the production on this, believe it or not, is far better than the 2011 album. I don't know what they did, but that's why it's a little bit higher. The production on these songs is great. It's a great little album, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 7.5. Okay, coming in at number 5, we have a live album called One Night Only, released in 2000, and it was recorded in 1994. And this version of Thin Lizzy featured John Sykes, Scott Gorham, Marco Mendoza, Darren Wharton, and the legendary Tommy Aldridge. Opens up with a Jailbreak. What a great track to always open up for. Waiting for an Alibi, Don't Believe a Word, the brilliant Cold Cold Sweat, The Sun Goes Down, Are You Ready, Bad Reputation's on here, Suicide, Still in Love with You, lovely song, Cowboy Song, The Boys Are Back in Town, Rosalie and The Black Rose. John Sykes sang on this album. He does a pretty good job as well. It's great to see John performing again with Thin Lizzy. Excellent album. I've got no problems with this, and I'll give it an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. Okay, coming in at number 4, released in 1983, Life, subtitled Live, on the album cover of course. Absolutely belting recorded on the Thunder and Lightning tour, except there's a couple of versions of songs that featured Snowy White, performed 2 years previously while he was still with a band. So on here we've got Phil Lynott on bass and vocals, Scott Gorham on the guitars, John Sykes on guitars, Brian Downey on percussion, Darren Morton on keyboards. Then we've got a host of ex-members, and we've got Gary Moore that plays on Black Rose and the Rocker, Brian Robertson on Emerald and the Rocker, Eric Bell on the Rocker, and then Snowy White plays alongside Scott Gorham on Renegade, Hollywood and Killer on the Loose. Okay, so it opens up with Thunder and Lightning, absolute belter version. Phil's on fire on this album. Waiting for an Alibi, absolutely brilliant. Jailbreak, Please Don't Go, The Holy War, Renegade and Hollywood, great version of that. Got to Give It Up, love that version as well. Are You Ready, always a great track. The Boys Are Back in Town, okay, it's played enough but it's great. Cold Sweats on here, Don't Believe a Word, Killer on the Loose, absolute killer track. The Sun Goes Down. Then we get Emerald, where Brian comes out and plays. Black Rose, Gary Moore came out. Still in Love With You, and then the Rocker, when everybody come out. Absolutely stonking version of the Rocker. This is a great album. This was the last album in Phil's Lynott's life to come out. Absolutely cracking album. Play this one a lot. I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 8.5. Okay, coming in at number 3, another great album, Still Dangerous, recorded at 2 concerts, one in Pennsylvania and the other in Philadelphia in 1977. Bad At Reputation tour, no overdubs on this. The album is completely live. We got The Boys Are Back in Town, Massacre and Emerald were previously released on another live album, while Me and the Boys is issued as a B-side to Rosalie. So we got on here, we've got Phil Lynott, Scott Gorham, Brian Robertson, Brian Downey, and we got John Earl on the sax. Opens up with Soldier of Fortune. Not many live versions of that about. Excellent version. The classic Jailbreak, Cowboy Song, Boys Are Back in Town. Wonderful version of Dancing in the Moonlight. Massacre. Opium Trails on here. Great track, great version. Don't Believe a Word. Baby Drives Me Crazy. Love that song. Me and the Boys, Bad Reputation and Emerald. Awesome album. Heavy, hard. What you expect from a Thin Lizzy concert. So I'm going to give it an RTO ranking of 9 out of 10. Okay, coming at number 2. Now this is an album that I've only recently got. It is rare as they come. It was UK Tour 75. And it was recorded on the Fighting Tour. Released in 2008 and was authorised by surviving members, and the content was digitally remastered under their supervision. I think I've got a bootleg from this sort of era as well. Some of these songs had not been released by Thin Lizzy yet, like the Cowboy Song, which was called Derby Blues on here. So we've got Phil Lynott, Scott Gorham, Brian Robinson and Brian Downey. Tracks on here are brilliant. Fighting My Way Back, a great track, and it was great to hear this live, and the production on it is fab. It's Only Money, again, these are all classic tracks. Wild One, you know, I've had live version of Wild One. For those who love to live, brilliant. A great version of Still in Love with You. Showdowns on Air, another great track. Suicide, Rosalie, The Rocker, Shalala, Baby Drives Me Crazy, Me and the Boys, Cowboy Song, Little Darling. Great album. This is a little gem. If you haven't got this one, it's on Spotify now. Go and have a listen to it. Go and live some classic Thin Lizzy. I'm going to give this album an RTO ranking of 9.5. Okay, number one. There was only going to be one, wasn't there? Recorded in 1976 in London and Philadelphia in 77. Released in 1978. It is the brilliant Live and Dangerous. It's the last album that features Brian Robinson. On here we've got that lineup of Phil, Scott, Brian and Brian. Two Brians, with John Earl on the saxophone. And Huey Lewis is on harmonica on Baby Drives Me Crazy. Opens up with Jailbreak. Now to me, these are the definitive versions of these songs. They are the best versions of these songs. Jailbreak, absolutely belting. Emerald, what a version on here. It's truly magical. Southbound, brilliant. A stonking version of Rosalie, the old Bob Seger number. Brilliant stuff. And then the best version of Dancing in the Moonlight. Wonderful track. Massacre, best version of course of that. Still in Love with You, brilliant. Then we get the brilliant Johnny the Fox meets Jimmy the Weed, best version of that. We get the Cowboy Song that goes into The Boys Are Back in Town, that goes straight into Don't Believe a Word. Great track, great version of that. The guitar solo on that is belting. Warriors, a stonking version of Are You Ready, absolutely killer. Suicide, great version on there. And what I love how Phil introduces this one, he just goes sha la 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 and goes straight into it. Absolutely brilliant track. Then we get Baby Drives Me Crazy, great version. The crowd join in, it's absolutely belting. And it ends with The Rocker. It's just an unbelievable album. One of the best live albums, one of the best produced. Okay, people say, well, there's a few overdubs on it. Do I care? No, I don't, because the atmosphere's there. You can, the crowd's in there, so you're not going to notice the odd little bit of fiddling. It's just made it a great album, and I'm going to give it an RTO ranking, of course, 10 out of 10. Okay, but before we go today, I have got an honourable mention. In 2011, they released a like the BBC have done with lots of bands live at the BBC. It's got some great tracks on it, and while I'm mentioning it, it's got they did in the studio on various shows. I mean, you got the rocker Things Ain't Working, Down on the Farm, Slow Blues, Gonna Creep Upon You, Suicide. And then there's an in concert from 1974. This is just worth getting for this. It's got She Knows, It's Only Money, Still in Love with You, Showdown, Rock and Roll Review, and Brave, Baby Drives Me Crazy. One of the other CDs is In Concert in 1981. Angel of Death, Renegade, Hollywood, The pressure will blow, killer on the loose. The boys are back in town, are you ready? Baby drives me crazy, and Emerald. And then another concert from 1983. Jailbreak, this is the one, Cold Sweat, The Sun Goes Down, Holy War, The Boys Are Back in Town, Rosalie. Baby Please Don't Go, Still in Love You, Dance in the Moonlight, and Baby Drives Me Crazy. Great little box set. It's got some great versions, and the stuff that they sort of do in the studio live is fantastic. It's worth getting it just for the live tracks from the early 80s. Some absolute belters. That's a recommendation for you. Okay, that's Thin Lizzy. Great band. Put some great tracks in the playlist, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. Just got one more show to do this week, and it's a little teaser for something we're doing later in the year. We're going to look at Andy Bound from Quo, The Herd, and various other stuff. It's his a solo album he made called Unfinished Business. So we're going to review that. So I'll see you for that. So take care for now.